Not every movie that I see and talk about on this channel is a good movie. And this is another one of them. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. My name is Brandon Aries, and welcome to The Sanctuary. A few weeks ago, my sister and I watched M. Night Shyamalan's newest movie, Knock at the Cabin. Let's rewind back in time where I put this movie down as one of my most anticipated movies of the year. Just kidding, I rewatched my own video and I realized I put it as an honorable mention. Now it's a dishonorable mention. Without any more sugarcoating, let's get into M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin. The eerie, unnerving intro kind of gave me like an old-fashioned black and white horror movie vibe to it. Then going into the conversation between Batista's character Leonard and Wen, you have like these dramatic close-ups, which I actually enjoyed. It kind of gave it like a dramatic, unsettling feeling to the conversation itself. Like, why is this guy just here in the woods catching grasshoppers? Speaking of Batista, I think he's my favorite part of the film. This film was definitely a spotlight for him, and it definitely got to show us his range as an actor. Now, he was also in Glass Onion, but I don't feel like that really was a good gauge of his range as an actor. I think most people just typecast him as Drax as like an idiot, but he's much more than that. And in this film, he clearly showed that. Glass Onion is a great example because he played like a streamer idiot that died. Moving on, there's this really bad tracking shot, and I wanted to talk about this so bad. It's when the four horsemen breached the house and Andrew is punching, I think it was Redmond, and he's just punching back and forth, but the tracking was so off. It's like the tracker wasn't put in the right spot. Somebody was just told behind the camera to react to the punches, but it just looked like, ooh. Does this make sense? Going back to the four horsemen, I like how they were all distinguished and they didn't really have great chemistry. And I think that adds to the contrast of the story. You know, these people are brought together to, quote, save the world from apocalypse, yet they can't get along. Really, the only thing that's keeping them, quote, together is the mission of saving the world. I want to know what was going on in M. Night Shyamalan's mind when he decided to give himself a cameo in an air fryer commercial. Do you just like air fryers? I don't know. I feel like so many other directors have such better cameos than just, oh, I'm in an air fryer commercial. Buy this air fryer. I will say, though, there was a good point that they touched on, and that was morality. You feel that when Andrew and Leonard are talking to each other about kids. Andrew talks about how he's a human rights attorney and he sees kids hurt or killed. And Leonard then replies, Leonard is a coach. He cares about children. That's his job. That's his responsibility to care for the kids. So if they get hurt or if they get killed, he is also affected by that. Eric and Andrew are still speculating on if this whole apocalypse thing is real or not. And then Batista's character, Leonard, just keeps reciting the news report because he, quote, saw it. For them, I really felt like it made things seem like, damn, this is not a joke. The pacing felt weird. And I think the reason for that is because they really only stayed in one spot, always in the cabin. There were a few shots where it was outside the cabin, like in the beginning and towards the middle where Andrew grabs the gun. So there are times I was wondering, like, how long is this movie? Sacrifices. Every time that Eric and Andrew didn't choose to save the world or not, a sacrifice was made. And for some reason, they just got quicker. Like, I felt like all this took place within an hour or two. They make it seem like it's over the course of like 6 hours. I don't know. Time's weird in this movie. Fast forward towards the end, and Batista slices his own throat as he sacrifices himself now, as there's nobody left. Another film where Batista dies by choking. This time it was on his own blood and not pineapple juice. One thing I thought was essential but felt like it was kind of too late was when Andrew went into the truck that they had left from, and he looks in the trunk or the back seat and he sees that the four horsemen actually weren't lying about their lives. For instance, Leonard really was a coach. He wasn't lying about that. Sabrina was a registered nurse. Adrienne did indeed have a son. Redmond didn't lie about his job either. I feel like the reason why they put it at the end was to kind of have Andrew realize that, oh, this whole thing was real. and we could have stopped all of it so early had we had known that this was all real. One thing that I still have no idea is like Redmond. Now, he did have a tie to Andrew because he assaulted him back in Massachusetts years ago, but after that, there really wasn't much else. But it kind of just feels like it fell off. Another thing that I still don't get is the grasshoppers. What's the deal? Like, I had no idea what the significance was about the grasshoppers being put in the jar. I actually had to look it up just to measure my brain. Turns out it was a metaphor for the grasshoppers being put in the jar and Leonard and his gang trapping Eric, Andrew, and Wen in the cabin. I mean, go off, but I feel like a lot of people that are just going into this movie not really having that sort of film knowledge in terms of looking at the finer details would never understand that. I mean, even me who looks for details like that, I had no idea. Overall, this movie wasn't great. My sister actually gave this a lower score than I did, but the saving point was Batista in this film, and that was really it. Other than that, I'm not watching this film again. I'm at like a 4.5 out of 10. But that's my thoughts on Knock at the Cabin. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to drop a like. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. And next to that is the notification bell for every week this lover boy pops up in your feed. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Peace.